Welcome to the I Hate Critics movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl.
Hell, I can get you towed by 3 o'clock this afternoon with nail polish.
With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Petrick.
I am a golden god!
And from the filmfanperspective.com, Josh Adams.
Nice beaver.
Visit us at ihatecritics.net. Check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, any of your podcatchers. If you could, though, please subscribe to us on iTunes and rate and review the podcast. It really helps out the show. And to be completely honest, I don't care if you ever listen to us on Stitcher or not. They're going to go away eventually. And listen to podcasts on podcasts, and they'll all badmouth Stitcher. So while you're on ihatecritics.net, we have the Amazon link. It's Father's Day. Buy your dad something on Amazon by going through our link, or buy him some coffee through our link at the Rockin' and Roastin' link.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
Go ahead. Make my day.
What about the Twinkie?
No, in previous episodes, we talked about movies on movies, and we had one listener put Fight Club as one of his favorite movies on movies. And have either of you figured out how Fight Club is a movie about movies?
Unfortunately, I think I did.
So do I.
I think he's talking about behind the scenes at the movie theater.
Me too.
Or are we talking about specifically that scene where he's splicing in?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I think, and he gave us a little clue. Tyler did it.
Yeah.
So that must be what it is. And like I said, the listeners can make their own rules. So, and as you'll see later on with our monster movies. So
there aren't too many movies that go behind the scenes of the movie theater, and it never turns out well, if you recall, Inglourious Basterds or Fight Club. So,
and then a couple weeks ago, we mentioned Hulk Hogan may be the big bad guy in Expendables 4, and Jason Bryan on Twitter reached out and said, "Come on, I hate critics. Suburban Commando was a classic. I saw it at Beachmont Twin Theaters back in the day. And if it was Expendables 4, Suburban Commando 2, I'm on board."
greatest mashup ever.
There was a Goodfellas article, sort of, that it's been picked up as bashing on females, and it kind of is. And I think his intention was maybe to bash on males, but at the same time, he was celebrating Goodfellas as if it was Entourage. It was just a messed up article.
Yeah, and Kyle Smith, I have a small connection to Kyle Smith. I interviewed him about his novel, Love Monkey, back in 2002. It's a pretty good novel, funny, entertaining guy, and he is now the film critic for the New York Post. And with the New York Post, you have to come up with unique headlines and stories that are, bold and clickbait. That's what they kind of do. They're kind of like the newspaper version of BuzzFeed or something, where it's just about trying to get people to tap the screen. And so he wrote an article about Goodfellas, how women don't get Goodfellas. And the point of the article was about male bonding and how women can't understand the bond that men have, and relating that to Goodfellas. The thing of it is that he's insulting women, but also unintentionally, but also he's just reducing the movie to something that it's not, which it's a masterpiece. And everybody knows Goodfellas is a masterpiece. Anybody with any kind of taste in film knows that this movie is remarkable, regardless of how a woman might. A woman sees it just as anybody else would, because it's just that well made. It's 96% positive on Rotten Tomatoes, and there are several dozen female film critics who reviewed it and got it just fine. So I don't know if it was his head. I can't say it was his headline. I don't know how the New York Post works.
Well, it wasn't just. It got picked up by everybody else with a different headline.
True.
Women can't comprehend Goodfellas. They totally twisted what he was saying, but. I know you say to stay away from the Huffington Post, but I read a article where two females were going back and forth about Goodfellas, and they're like, "Well, after I finished my Midol, I watched it." It was pretty genius.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Jason Statham was nearly in Daredevil, right?
Yes, he was. Marvel reached out to him, and there were negotiations take place for him to play the Bullseye character. If anyone doesn't know who Bullseye is, Colin Farrell played him in the 2002 film. He's Daredevil's main nemesis, right?
Still don't know who it is. Get over it.
In the comics, no. those talks broke down, and then once they did break down, he came out and said, well, my grandma could be in a Marvel movie. And I can't tell if this is Jason Statham trying to get in the news because he had a film last week, and so if he's in the news, people are looking at it, and it's just kind of that way of promoting something. But then Mark Ruffalo shot back and said, hey, my grandma could be in a Jason Statham movie. And I thought that was friendly without being too
pretty funny.
Intense.
I will give Statham a pass because I get to interview a lot of people like that, and sometimes the interviews kind of just get more casual, and maybe they don't realize they're live or they're being recorded. So he could have just been making a joke to a friendly reporter who then bent him over.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Tomorrowland is going to be a massive bomb despite making over $150 million.
Classic Hollywood, isn't it?
But no one cares, which is even better because of the Avengers.
So whatever they lose on Tomorrowland, they might make up with Inside Out, or later this year when Star Wars comes out, Disney can write this off just like they wrote off John Carter or any other underperforming film.
My guess is this is how Tomorrowland even got made. We can do whatever the hell we want. We got Star Wars, Avengers.
I think John Carter that came out in an off year for them, didn't it? Or it was a bigger story. This one, Avengers already 4 or 5 times probably made up for the cost of the loss in Tomorrowland. Obviously, Star Wars is going to even do, I don't know, better than that necessarily, but it's going to make it up as well. Disney doesn't care. But at the same time, it says you can't make something original. You have to, and spend that kind of money. You have to make sure it's part of a franchise, which is kind of sad.
It is sad. I still kind of like that movie, and I wish it had done better. But compared to the other Disney releases that we have, they didn't really promote that film as much. And maybe they saw something. Maybe they didn't have a lot of faith in it afterwards. I'm not quite sure why. It
could very well be they never found the hook, the emotional hook that they wanted to promote it with. But who's got another team?
Me.
You still get that $150 million.
Oh, yeah.
That's still good. Doesn't cost you anything.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Chris Hemsworth is going to be in Ghostbusters as the receptionist.
Yeah, and you're already building the scene in your mind, aren't you? When he first takes the job and they see him walk in and he's got the muscles and the girls are just looking him up and down, and that's kind of it's a nice reversal.
Well, I'm just wondering which woman's going to be Egon, and I'm picturing Melissa McCarthy under the table fixing the computer with him standing there flirting, and they're going to be an item.
He's doing this already, right? In the Vacation movie that comes out next month, he's basically playing the guy that's walking through a room and everyone's staring at him.
Other than Thor, what else can he do?
Well, I haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, Snow White and the Huntsman. Well, he's basically playing Thor in there. Okay.
No one saw Black Hat, so.
Yeah, right.
And Cabin in the Woods is such a movie unto itself that I forgot he was in it. He doesn't really matter in it.
Nope.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender.
Christopher Lee passed away.
Heavy metal superstar.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee. He was Lord Saruman, is that right?
That's right. The White Wizard.
And he was a hell of an actor. He played Dracula for a number of years for Hammer Horror, and really, really just a tremendous actor in many ways. Of course, Star Wars.
That was my first real exposure, because I saw him in The Fellowship of the Ring in 2001. 5 months later, Star Wars comes out, and I had no idea still who he was until Star Wars was out. Then I backtracked. Now I understand who he is. He's a Bond villain. He's so many things. He's Sir Christopher Lee. It's not just a random actor who turned 93 years old. He's been in all of the genre stuff, and he's one of the specific genre actors that you can remember for all time, I suppose.
And I know it's not popular to say, but I thought his lightsaber scene versus Yoda was pretty awesome.
Oh, it is awesome. That's what I was thinking as I walked out of the theater. That's the coolest part of the movie. I mean, even when you're looking at lightsabers forever, you've got 20 years in between pictures, and it kind of gets boring. All of a sudden, you walk in and Darth Maul's got a double-bladed saber. Count Dooku's got a curved, old-style scythe-type saber. Fantastic stuff. So I'll always remember him as Count Dooku.
And I come from the heavy metal side, so I know. And they were actually out in full force with the rest in pieces. Alice Cooper dedicated an award to him.
He was not kidding around. He actually enjoyed heavy metal music at 90-something years old.
May the Force be with you.
And Pitch Perfect 3 is coming.
I'm wondering if this is going to be that American Pie sequel where they introduce other people's characters. Anna Kendrick's little sister, Rebel Wilson's cousin, who's also, they call her Fat Carla or something.
or Skinny Sarah. I think it'll be one more shot at the theater. Try to get another almost $200 million. When it falls a little short but still is profitable, then they'll start to do these VOD spin-offs. But they'll introduce those characters so they can do like they did in American Wedding or whatever.
Right.
All right, let's get on to our show. We got 1.5 new movies. If we give time, we'll get to the other half. But Jurassic World came out and surprised me with how well it did. I knew it was going to be one of the top 3 movies of the year or the summer, but I didn't expect it to possibly be the number 1 movie. I know we don't know yet, but it's Avengers, in the ballpark.
And the unending relationship that children have to dinosaurs. I mean, children are still fascinated by those giant beasts, and that's always going to be a thing, I think. And this movie definitely proves that. There's still a certain sense of wonder when it comes to giant dinosaurs. And I watched the original this week and was reminded how amazing that was. And Jurassic World doesn't have that same sense of wonder. It's got it kind of, and I'm sure it might have it for maybe very young audiences, maybe. But it's also really, really, really scary for kids that are young enough to feel that kind of wonderment. So it's kind of in an odd place when it comes to trying to recreate what Spielberg created. It's
almost a different movie in a way. I mean, Jurassic Park was all about wonder. This was a full-on monster movie. I mean, without question, it was a monster movie. It was scary.
Yeah. The story kicks off with the Jurassic World is a place. It's a attraction that's fully built. It's got dinosaurs and a corporate structure. It's got scientists, and the owner of the park is and the person who runs the park is now Bryce Dallas Howard, Claire. She is seeing that profits are kind of dipping just a little bit, even though they're really, really successful.
Because the wonder's gone.
The wonder's gone.
But they say that.
And so she's tasked her scientists with coming up with a new dinosaur. And so they use genetics to create a new dinosaur that they call the Indominus Rex. But somebody didn't tell anybody what they built the dinosaur out of. And what they built it out of is a mystery that will play out throughout the movie and plays off. I thought it paid off pretty well. In how they revealed it. But basically, the Indominus Rex is the most amazing, dangerous dinosaur ever, and it escapes from its inescapable cage and begins eating people. And Chris Pratt is called in as a kind of a velociraptor whisperer, and it's up to him to try and save the day and help Claire. And of course, her nephews are lost in the park and causing all kinds of chaos. And it's a solid adventure, and like you said, it's a monster movie, and it's got some pretty terrific monsters. And I mean, we all saw it. Every kid's leaving the theater because it was too scary for them, because parents thought, well, we can bring our kids to Jurassic, and this is a movie that is much scarier than the original.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the spectacle of this film, and I appreciate its spectacle. I appreciate the monsters. I like all of that stuff. I like that they invented a new dinosaur. That's kind of cool. They've even taken it to the water now, and they've given some of these pterodons and pterodactyls actual roles in the film as opposed to just noting that they're there. But at the same time, I got bored with the rest of it, the nostalgia of it. I think I even tried to come up with a new term that when we talk about somebody yanking tears out of your eyes and it being so maudlin, this called so much back on our nostalgia for the first film that I felt like they were grabbing the nostalgia out of me. To the point where they even visit the original ending to the first film. There's cues of music from the first film, which are fine. But everything else that happens is the exact same. The problem is none of these people learn anything. And I still don't understand how they get to this point. We have 3 films where people are dying left and right. I hate to be a clerk from Clerks and ask about the insurance involved in all of this, but it's a legitimate question for me. How do you arrive at a multi-billion-dollar facility like this after the events of these first films? On top of that, how does the original structure still stand? How is the freaking banner still there?
So you must have hated the fact that they started the car from 1992.
I didn't understand why it was there. And how does a 16-year-old kid, that apparently is blasé about most things, know how to start it?
He did say that he and his dad had rebuilt an engine the summer before.
And then you followed up with, I can't drive. Here's everything you're saying is completely true, but I don't care.
Yes.
It was so much fun that I did. And I felt, like you said, they're pulling the nostalgia out of you. I feel like they were trying to take it away. Like it was trying to say, look, it was here, but this is different. And that's where they made a different movie. I mean, that follows the same pattern, but it's more of a horror movie, monster movie than it was this neat little adventure the first one was.
And I like that angle, the action and the horror angle. What I don't like is the continued reliance on cookie cutter characters. Vincent D'Onofrio is playing the bad guy. Surprise! I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. These characters, just like the corporations in every other monster movie, Alien and Aliens comes to mind, they just want to weaponize these things.
Never trust anybody going after a military contract.
Exactly. And because of that, I feel it's not a wholly lazy film, because you can tell that Colin Trevorrow cares about this material deeply. And putting all of that stuff in there means that he cares about it, but there isn't enough new for me to validate the fact that this exists. If you want to have a unique angle on it, a character that thinks differently than other characters in this socket, that's fine. Otherwise, I don't get it. I almost needed a Jeff Goldblum type of character, the one that's cutting this action and saying, oh, did you really need to? I mean, Chris Pratt, his character, Owen Grady, at some point says, should you have done that? But that's where it stops. I mean, nobody has to really take responsibility for this, because you know that they're just going to do it again.
Jeff Goldblum is my favorite character in all of the history of Jurassic Park. I mean, those moments are just so amazing. I hate always being right. It's such a great line.
Yeah, the reason I feel like they went different with kind of the genre, and that's where the difference lies between this and the original. Everything, yes, it's cookie cutter. It's funny. I like the guy from, was it New Girl or whatever?
Jake Johnson.
Nothing he said is real life things. And the whole ending scene that he has with what's that actress's name? It's just hilarious. But I don't know. To me, it's the best monster movie of the year easily, which I don't know if there are any others. And it's the second best action movie of the year, and behind Mad Max, as far as I'm concerned. So but I can't disagree. Everything you're saying is true. I just don't care.
Please go first.
I have to address something, because I wrote about this on ihatecritics.net, and people can take a look at it, and that is that this film has been accused of sexism and being anti-feminist. And I gotta say that I don't really believe that it is, and that a lot of people are pointing to the character of Claire as because she's wearing a dress and heels, and she's out and dealing with dinosaurs and running through the jungle. Somehow they say that is anti-feminist, and the fact that she doesn't like children, or that should she like children or shouldn't she like children? Which characteristic is the feminist characteristic? Wanting to be a mother or not wanting to be a mother? I can't figure out, because she's getting attacked both ways in various different media for not liking children, for not being maternal. She's clearly not a woman, but then if she is maternal, that she's giving up her ambition to be. I mean, it's a whole thing where she can't win no matter what she does. But the fact of the matter is, she's not a sexist character. She's just a character. She's just a character with this very specific character arc. She begins one way as this ambitious executive willing to do anything to continue to make more and more money, to the point where she, disregards the dinosaur safety, and her ambition is hurtful to the people she loves, her nephews. And over the course of the film, she learns that this way of life that she's been going about, this kind of overly ambitious dedication to money, is not the way to be, and she learns a valuable lesson. In the end, she comes out the other side a better person. That's a character arc. That is not a symbol of all women in movies. That's just an arc of a very specific character.
Yeah, it's not saying that women who go into the workforce and want to be successful are inherently bad.
No, and
her character was bad. Her character had the wrong...
it's a specific character. It reminded me of the argument about Chasing Amy, and where people tried to say that she was somehow a symbol of gay people who aren't really gay or something like that. And that was not what she was. She was a very specific character who had a very specific psychological backstory that led her to being where she was, wanting to be with women, but also having had feelings for this man. This movie is about a very specific character whose ambition drives her to be who she is. Yes, she was at a business meeting that day, so she wore heels to work and a cream-colored skirt. I mean, that's what she wore to a business meeting. She met with the Verizon Wireless people, remember? And they were going to sponsor the dinosaur. So she had a meeting that day. So yes, she dressed in corporate dress. And no, when they went out into the field, she didn't bother to change her clothes. She didn't have time. There was a dinosaur killing people. There was no time for her to switch to your whatever clothes that you're supposed to wear in that situation.
He did have time to get his motorcycle, though.
There was an angle on this that I had too, and the film I think is very demonstrative in this, in that we don't have the same kind of awe as we had in the first film. The older brother character is looking at his phone as the T-Rex is eating the goat. In the first film, that was a historical moment in cinema, right? And I wondered if it was just my mind, not having experienced 22 years of cinema since then, that didn't allow me to enjoy this as much. And I kept thinking to myself, well, the same things that are a problem with this one are the problems with the first film, and that it's not quite wry enough in knowing in its science to actually drive home what I'm asking from the film. And I understand that as a blockbuster, you can't really be as smart of a film as you may want to be, but remembering the Michael Crichton book, and it is a smart foretelling. Nobody learns from the Michael Crichton book either. I mean, it just continues to perpetuate itself. But I appreciated the film's attempt to comment on where we are today as well, and not being able to understand the awe of the fact that you're looking at dinosaurs.
They were trying to make several comments. I'm pretty sure there was a GMO underlying thing too that I didn't really care about, and I didn't care what anything was saying. I just had fun. The only way to really enjoy this movie is to sit here and watch it for what it is, and that's a monster movie. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the only way to really enjoy this movie, and it does a pretty good job of getting you there. It's not going to get everybody, as only 67% of us got there, but but it will get most of us. I loved the product placement in this movie.
There's a lot of it too.
The car stuff. Was it Hyundai? Oh my God, I love the way it was like a commercial. And it was like almost immediately after making fun of the Verizon Wireless, naming the dinosaur I don't know what they're going to call it, Verizon Wireless.
Verizon presents the Indominus Rex, I believe it was.
But then what's his name from New Girl started naming dinosaurs after companies. I don't know. I just loved the way they zoomed in on that car, and it drove and kind of went around, and it was just so stupid but fun.
I want one of those those indestructible bubbles that the
gyro balls.
Yes, I want one of those.
That was pretty neat. Any other thoughts on Jurassic World? Where do you rank it, Sean, in terms of action movies this summer?
It's a good movie. I'd say I enjoyed Furious 7 more, and Avengers more, and Mad Max more. But it's a good movie. Yeah, I think I'm held back by the fact that I watched the original and was kind of blown away by it again, and that kind of put this one in a different context. It was at a disadvantage going in. Yeah.
I hold this above Avengers. I haven't seen Furious 7, but I'm just not into car movies, so that's not fair.
And something tells me, too, I saw this in 3D. I don't know if either of you did.
I did.
Okay.
Didn't seem to matter.
No. And I felt let down by that fact. If you have a monster/dinosaur film, 3D should be the one venue in which you're going to actually experience something a little more. I'm not saying that a dinosaur head should come at you in the crowd, but something, it felt lacking.
I liked it because I didn't notice it. And normally on the Avengers look like shit in 3D, just horrible. And this one, I don't know, I didn't notice anything. It just kind of flowed really good, and I was happy with that. But I get what you're saying, but I like the fact that I couldn't tell.
What you haven't mentioned is Chris Pratt. Anybody have any thoughts on Chris Pratt?
Playing, my commentary is that he was playing a cookie cutter character that most people could play, and I didn't necessarily sense the Chris Pratt charisma from other roles that people know him for. If we hadn't had Guardians of the Galaxy yet, or name anything, Parks and Recreation, or whatever people know him for, and he just played Owen Grady, would anyone say, "Wow, Chris Pratt's a big star now"? I don't think so.
I wonder if his acting, if what he did in Guardians of the Galaxy kind of forced him to be different in this film and try and find a different note to play, because he didn't really find one to play in this one. He doesn't want to be too offhand, but he doesn't really have anything else to play.
It reminds me of Vince Vaughn's role from The Lost World, and it was supposed to propel him into stardom. That didn't propel him into stardom. His comedy roles did that, and so I feel much the same way about this.
Well, I kind of got a Ryan Reynolds vibe. A little bit.
The only reason I don't get that is because he's already been propelled into stardom because of Guardians. This is a huge movie. He's going to just kind of, this is bigger than Lost World was. It's bigger than Jurassic Park at this point. So I don't think it's going to hurt him. And
no, not going to hurt him at all.
And to be honest, I think if he was in Tomorrowland and George Clooney wasn't, that might have made its money back. What else from Jurassic World? Anything?
No, I've got pretty much nothing on that.
Yeah, keep going to see it because it's on my fantasy team. I'm back. I saw a movie on iTunes, sort of like 98% of a movie on iTunes before it expired on me, called Maggie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a zombie movie. What's it? Abigail Breslin, I believe, is the girl in it. It is. I told the guys before the podcast it was probably one of the best zombie movies I've ever seen, but it's kind of boring. They were like, well, explain that one. One, you said it was good. Two, you said a zombie movie and an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie was boring. It is about a dad dealing with his daughter turning into a zombie, and he literally is just sitting with her at home, and it's sad. You just feel bad for the guy. It's her, and it takes a long time for you to turn in this movie, and it's just a really sad movie about her dealing with turning. She's going to die. She knows she's going to die. He's going to have to kill her or send her to quarantine, which quarantine is horrible because the zombies just destroy each other, and they're not fully zombies yet, and it's a horrible, depressing thing. And if zombies were real, or if we ever got to this apocalypse that we always see in the movies, this is a more realistic version of it, where you're going to go to work and have to shoot a zombie, but you can still work that day, and the world's not going to end, and we're not going to all be without power and electricity, and it's a more realistic version of a zombie movie. And I don't know, it's a sad, but it's good, but it's nowhere in a million years would it make millions and millions of dollars in a theater.
What's fascinating to me about all zombie films in general is there are relationships when people are alive, and then you are able to move past when somebody passes away, and there's a different plane of relationship there. And when someone would be a zombie, you cannot fully move on, and it would create an emotional state, I suppose, in which we just aren't able to encounter. And that's what I grab onto with zombie films, and I'm assuming that this is the one that does it the best because it's got just two main characters.
Yeah.
I think 20 years ago this would have been a blockbuster because Schwarzenegger was a star 20 years ago. It would have been in theaters.
Yes. Well, yeah, it definitely would have been in theaters, but it would have probably bombed. They might have had a decent weekend, but then people would have not gone back because a lot of the diehard zombie fans, which they weren't really around 20 years ago, because zombies were at a lull at one point, not too long ago, but It's just not. It's not an action movie by any means, and you know this. What you talk about in other zombie movies happens in almost all of them, but it's really brief. You know, someone's hiding their kid being bit, or they're hiding their girlfriend being bit, and then someone has to put them down, and it's a 2-minute scene that gets across the cool more. This whole movie is that 2-minute scene, and it's a good movie. It's not great. But it's fine. It's weird having a father with a really bad accent and a daughter with a perfectly normal accent. But I'd recommend it, especially when it comes to Netflix or on DVD or Blu-ray, where it's a little cheaper than iTunes. But
and they don't cut it off after 24 hours.
Yeah, we started the movie late on a Thursday night and then picked it up again on a Friday night, almost like 22 hours later. And as it was ending, it cut off on me. So I don't completely know how it ended, but I have a pretty good idea.
I get a weird question about zombie movies. If you were to die by being shot in the head, would you still be a zombie later? Because you have to shoot a zombie in the head to kill him, right?
Depends on the zombie movie.
We're not sure of the rules.
Well, that's the thing with, you set the rules early on and then you change them to make your zombie movie different than Night of the Living Dead or whatever. And now there's so many zombie movies that there's so many different rules that I don't even...
What I understood from The Walking Dead, and this is trying a legitimate explanation here, is the reason why you shoot them in the head is because the only part of the body that functions is a specific section of the central brain that controls your motor function and primal needs such as hunger, thirst, etc. I would assume that would be procreation as well, but we don't ever see anything like that on screen. That would be weird. But that's part of the same group.
Have you seen zombie strippers?
I can't say that I have.
I have.
Okay. I stand corrected. Okay. But I would assume that's why you shoot him in the head. My confusion has always been, well, it's a big head. There's only one section of it that deals with that. If you shoot them in the head and it's the wrong spot, then they're still going to walk around with a hole in their head. We've already spent way too much time talking about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
We're going to talk about monster movies. We looked at 2 King Kongs, sort of, and the original Jurassic Park. Let's start with Jurassic Park.
Yeah, okay. Jurassic Park, I watched it when it came out over 20 years ago, and, I remember being sufficiently blown away by it then. But it's not an experience that I recall, having that sense of wonder watching it. I was a little bit older than, some of the people. I was an older teenager, I think, at the time, and so I wasn't as blown away by it as like a younger, like 12, 13, 14-year-old kid who was looking at it, with their eyes wide and whatnot. But I watched it again this week, and I found myself actually on the edge of my seat, which is weird for a movie when you've seen it before. You know what's going to happen, and these characters. So obviously children in movies don't die. That. Everybody knows that. Main characters in movies don't die. That. But I still found myself excited and compelled by, when they're hanging off the side of the cliff and the car goes flying over their head and the kid's still in the car and he's hanging up in the tree and the T-Rex is looking around trying to find him. I was really excited by that scene, and having seen it before, I still was moved by it. That's the mark of a really, really great movie, that it can still make you feel that, and it can still get you into that feeling. And that's what I take away from Jurassic Park, is stuff like that. The sense of wonder is there as an adult now. I feel that a little bit more watching it now than I did even when I was younger. The Steven Spielberg's direction is just absolutely masterful, and I don't think he gets enough credit for how brilliant this movie is and how seamless he makes it seem, especially for given the time that it was made. It looks I think this one looks almost as good as Jurassic World does, and we're talking 20 years difference.
And there's nothing wrong with Jurassic World. That's just how good this looked.
Yeah,
92 or 93 or 4, whatever it came out.
The Brontosaurus scene where they're where Grant and the kids are hiding out in the tree. That Brontosaurus looks amazing. then the kids, the reaction to it is fantastic. Kid actors aren't generally reliable and giving you the best possible performance, but I thought those kids were really, really good in that, especially in that scene. And even there's that iconic water scene in the car when you see those ripples of water, classically Spielberg, and it just works because all you see is the ripple, and then you start hearing that rumble in the background, and you're like, and you feel it. You still feel it today. And in the movie theater, obviously, you felt it because they had big booming speakers. But even on my HD TV, I'm still feeling that feeling, that excitement as what's that?
My 3-year-old felt it because I was stomping on the ground behind him.
4D.
I liked it better this time than I've ever liked it. I don't know why. Part of it was because I read the book and I was one of those, why didn't they do it like Michael Crichton did it? Blah, blah. But it's become one of my favorite. This and Jaws are two of my favorite Spielberg movies, and I've never been a big Spielberg fan, not for any good reason, because obviously everybody else likes him. But you're right; he deserves way more. He doesn't get as much credit with this when he should. But he's made so many great movies that's probably why. But my God, I'd put this above some of his Oscar-winning movies.
Absolutely,
in terms of technical ability, at least.
I do remember my first experience with this being scared as a 14-year-old, and mainly because he sets up the moments in this film so well. There are boo moments, but it's not like a ghost. That's a thing in those the dinosaurs are so well rendered that when the raptor jumps out at Laura Dern towards the end, oh my God. I mean, I leapt in my seat as a 14-year-old and I was embarrassed for it because my younger brother was fine, but I remember feeling that awe and saying, you know what, this is really worth the hype. Everyone was talking about it at that time. I didn't see it opening night. It took me a week or two to get to it. And once I did, I'm like, this really is good. Oh my gosh. Watching it as an adult, and I saw it when it was re-released in the theater a couple of years ago in 3D, I feel much the same now as I did then in terms of awe. And I think it's just the way that they set the film up. It's not so much that's the first time I'm seeing a dinosaur on screen. It's just a feeling that it invokes. When they drive up and they see the plains full of dinosaurs and they turn Laura Dern's head to look at it, that's a great moment. They are seeing what we're experiencing, and it's a great job by Spielberg in crafting how we experience as well as the characters experience. And Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, is a great science fiction character. He's not just there to comment on what's going on, but that's exactly what he does, and he does it so well. Yeah, that's right. Hey, anything that can happen will happen. Life will find a way. Nobody learned, clearly.
But and the thing is, he's such a jerk, but he's actually right. He's right all along. It's like Walter in The Big Lebowski. Such a jerk, but he was right the whole time.
And he's hilarious. And then there's Sam Neill, who just doesn't make bad movies. So
until recently.
He made Event Horizon.
Yeah. I was going to say, let me
a movie I like that Josh hates. So but no,
Sam Neill makes a lot of good movies.
I took my daughter to see this when it got re-released, and I forgot how scary it was. And then I watched it with my son, who we watched King Kong together, and who would not shut up during King Kong. We'll get to that later. But during Jurassic Park, he was constantly putting his covers over his head. So finally, at one point, I kind of crawled down next to him. When he covered himself up, when he went back down, I just jumped. I probably could have killed him out of fear.
Has he stopped crying yet?
He just punched me. He was pretty relieved it was just me. But maybe that was what made it more fun for me this time, was having my kids there because my daughter kind of forgot about it, because what was it, 2 years ago that was re-released? So I don't know. It was so much fun. And unlike, to me, it boosted Jurassic World. It just kind of went hand in hand to me. They're two different movies due to the monster elements more strong in Jurassic World, but they just kind of, I forgot about Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, as if these were just two movies, back-to-back sequels, and I just kind of felt like they flowed together really well, and it made Jurassic World better for me. King Kong.
Yeah, King Kong, 1933, and this is a movie that's iconic for being one of the first like really great special effects movies, and the special effects in this movie, given the fact that it's 1933, are extraordinary. And it really is. The dinosaurs that they created in 1933 are amazing to look at. Like, because you can't imagine how they even possibly did it and integrated these, actors into it. And the whatever, I don't even know what the technology was. Was it green? They didn't have green screen. What did they have?
I would imagine it's a matte painting of some sort that they all just walked by.
It was freaking brilliant. And but the thing of it is that even as amazing as those special effects are, I was actually moved by the performances. I actually got into the performances, the director, and looking for this actress, and she finds Fay Wray, and she's beautiful, and nobody can see it, and he puts her on the boat, and he takes her, and then King Kong falls in love with her, and then they chase through the jungle, and fantastic stuff. And then they get back to New York, and it's still good. I was really compelled by it. I was surprised. I thought maybe that the acting would be wooden or kind of forgettable, but the acting in the original King Kong is fantastic. Fay Wray is fantastic, and her love interest in the movie, I was really compelled by him. I was really surprised just how great he was, but this movie surprised me beginning to end at how really, really fantastic it is, even far better than its reputation, which again, its reputation I thought was just as just kind of a notable monster movie, but it's much more than that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The production design of this film is really amazing when you think about it. What they had to work with and what they actually were able to put on screen. A lot of what you see seems to be they're tangible props, and I don't know how they were able to do that in 19th. Despite a budget of whatever you have, there seems to be certain limitations. That the huge gate in which the natives keep Kong out of their living space, that is huge, and I didn't get the idea that for a moment that was a miniature version. I feel that was a real thing that they did, and if you imagine yourself in 1933 watching this film, this has to have been to them their Jurassic Park.
Well, speaking of Jurassic Park, that gate is a clear homage to King Kong. Even Malcolm mentions it. But continue.
Yeah, I loved this film. I appreciate everything when you go back and watch originals and you put yourself in the frame of mind of somebody then and what they're able to accomplish, and then it still seems to be okay 70, 80 years later. I feel that's an incredible accomplishment. Now, clearly someone's in a Kong suit. That's fine. But what they're able to do and film it with his arms coming through windows and setting Andero up on things, that doesn't look nearly as Godzilla-y as I imagined it would. That's the only way that I can put it, because they're using stop motion animation clearly, but there's never a point where I say the actors have to stop just to allow something to go by on screen. It's rather seamless considering it's 82 years old. I've fallen in love with this simply because I had an idea that it was simply one of the cheesy old Universal horror movies, like Creature from the Black Lagoon or even Dracula for that matter. No, this is a film first that happens to have a monster in it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is like Spielberg of 1933. Yes. It really is. What did you think of Peter Jackson's remake?
I didn't like it as much as this. Now, what I appreciate about it is you have to do that, right? You have to see what you can do with the technology of today and take that story and build it up. And it's basically, I see a lot of the same elements in the original in Peter Jackson. The Carl Denham character, the Andero character, clearly they're still there. But then again, as good as the special effects are in that film, it still feels choreographed a little bit, a little rote. There's something charming about the fact that the original had to really get creative. In reading about it, they had to create technology just to make this kind of stuff happen. And if I appreciate Star Wars in any way, I have to appreciate what they created just to make their vision become a reality. In King Kong, the 2005-6 version, they can pretty much render all of that. And that doesn't mean they did a poor job at it. That just means that I appreciate it less.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I still think because of how good it is, it lends itself to be updated and remade. And it seems to be okay to do that with a movie like this, as opposed to, like, if you remake The Godfather, you're just an idiot. But this one seems to make sense. And, even the other monster movies, it makes sense to kind of keep doing updated versions of these for the next generations, because it's such a timeless story. I watched half of this, and then the DVD just stopped working. My son, King Kong was hardly even in it yet. He watched it with me without being bored at all. And that kind of stays the performances, I think, that Sean was talking about. But then we went ahead and watched the 76 version with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange. And I had a lot of fun with it. It was entertaining. And he loved it. He just would not stop talking throughout the whole thing and trying to explain to me what was going on. I actually have audio of him yelling at me. See, I told you the gorilla could climb a building. I'm like, it's not a gorilla, it's King Kong.
So how does King Kong look in 76?
It looks like it's a guy in a suit again, but it's not nearly as creative as it was in the 30s, but it's more creative than it was in 2005. I was never distracted by the way it looked. Jeff Bridges pretty much played Chris Pratt or Chris Pratt played Jeff Bridges, however you want to look at it. And he looks like the dude. He's got the long hair and the little facial hair, but he's younger. It looked good. I enjoyed it. Have you guys seen it?
No. It always seems to be something that I remember as being not well received back in 76.
It may not have been, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you're remaking a classic. But I enjoyed it. I'd never seen it before. I'd seen the one from the 30s multiple times as a kid, but it was fun for me.
My sister loves the 76 version, but she's got a huge crush on Jeff Bridges. So, is it the same story? The director looking for an actress and takes her to the island?
No, he's media, so they sneak on the boat somehow.
Oh, okay.
But after that, it becomes the same story. Then they take her to New York, and
this is an interesting tie back to last week, because this is a movie about the movies.
Yes, it is.
Man, I never thought of that.
What do you think of Carl Denham as a film director? And he takes a close look at how he does what he does, and he made real life monster movies. Was his character? He would go into the jungles and find the most amazing animals and kind of film around them, and use real people as his actors. And this was the first time, of course, he used a woman in one of his movies.
Yeah, there's the 1933 version here. The characters too seem quite displaced by the fact that there's a gargantuan gorilla or whomever you want to say, as well as dinosaurs. They seem to be genuinely upset by this fact. I do remember in the 2005 version wondering, seriously, there's a freaking T-Rex. Somebody say that there's a T-Rex. Somebody ask why there's a dinosaur here. Nobody does, and that disappointed me.
There are no dinosaurs in the 76 version, and I think they're going to the island for oil.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the big. But after that, it's just kind of the same story. But
see, the movie's not the same for me without that T-Rex versus King Kong matchup. That fight scene in the 33 movie is just awesome. It's awesome, and he pulls his freaking head apart. I mean, it's fantastic.
I didn't expect that. Not at all.
You can even see the blood in black and white. I was like, wow, this is so detailed.
Is there a tribe living there?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big snakes fight scene with King Kong in the 76 version.
Same as the original. They're in development at Universal right now. There's a film called Skull Island, and it seems to me that it's going to be a sequel to the 2005 version, and Peter Jackson is not going to direct this. I'm not sure who is, but it's in development, and I'm just kind of wondering, where do you go? And Kong is dead, so you can't call it King Kong. And
yeah, but who else is on this island?
Queen Kong,
right?
Queen Kong.
I like it.
There's a real movie called Queen Kong out there.
Donkey Kong.
That's Pixels.
we asked our listeners for their top 5 monster movie lists, and here's what some of them said. Jeff, who's been on the podcast before, he said King Kong 76, Jurassic Park, The Blob, Jaws, and Showgirls.
That's funny.
And I other than Showgirls, I can't really argue with his list. Jason from New Mexico had Tremors, Them, Piranha, The Mist, Lake Placid. He says, it's not really my top 5, but those would be good considerations, I guess.
Lake Placid is a piece of shit.
Isn't that the Killer Hippo movie or Killer Crocodile or
Crocodile.
something? Okay.
It's a crocodile controlled by Betty White.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Wow.
Sometimes he likes to have fun with us.
She's feeding the crocodile, and she sends it to kill people.
I think The Mist is one of the better monster movies I've ever seen. I like much better in black and white than I do in color, but it's good both ways. Lindsay said Legend, Monsters, Inc., The Monster Squad, Willow, and Little Monsters. It seems like someone just making up their own rules.
She misunderstood. It doesn't have to have monsters in the title.
A monster with Charlize Theron.
Legend is an inspired choice, though, because that's Tim Curry's monster in that film is one of the more iconic bad guys of the past 30 years. It's not a very good film, but the horns are intimidating. It's what after I saw that film, I thought of the devil in that fashion.
Yeah. And then Fred Rowe had Aliens, The Thing, Gremlins, Pacific Rim, and would Starship Troopers count? Well, you guys can make up your own rules. So
giant spiders, right?
Bugs of some sort.
Wild Wild West.
Now that Starship Troopers, piece of shit. All-time piece of shit for me.
But funny, though. Funny, unintentionally funny.
Unintentionally indeed.
Unintentionally hysterical.
If you get Casper Van Dien and Denise Richards in a scene together, hilarity ensues.
If you get the chance to see the riff track Starship Troopers, it's phenomenal.
All right. Anybody seen in the 85 movies?
Yes, I saw 2 of them.
I've seen 2 of them, but not recently.
Remind me, which ones are we talking about here?
Preetzi's Honor and Daryl are the 2 movies that I saw.
And I've seen Secret Admirer before, but it's
fantastic.
been a while. I don't remember it. But
Well, the reason I saw Preetzi's Honor is because it's Jack Nicholson, and I should. Plus, Angelica Houston won a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her role. And it's a John Huston film, so it's a father directing a daughter. That angle was interesting. But it's Jack Nicholson doing his best impression of an Italian mobster. Now, Jack Nicholson and accents, they don't always happen. And in this case, it's not the best. I could never get into him trying to be an Italian mobster. He's a hitman. Kathleen Turner is a hit woman, and they fall in love. And in the midst of this, they attempt to take down a family. William Hickey, the character actor, if any of you remember him, in Christmas Vacation, he's the one that burns up the tree and he's got a stogie. He's the Don of this family. So I'm not getting into it because I just know who all these characters are, and I'm already placing what I know of them on these roles. It's a fine film, well acted and everything like that, but I kind of found myself bored, and it definitely isn't something that I think is remembered over time, only if someone is looking up Angelica Houston and wondering if she's ever won an Oscar. The other one that I watched, and I've seen it a number of times over the years, is Daryl, and that's D.A. etc. Because it's a data analyzing robot youth life form. Yeah,
of course
Daryl.
You've seen this.
Of course I have. Well, Barrett Oliver plays Daryl, and this is the Barrett Oliver from The Neverending Story. So as soon as I saw him, of course, I'm like, that's the Neverending Story kid. And I watched this a lot as a kid. It does not hold up in the least. If you see literally any artificial intelligence movie after this, it does a better job. It's very, very maudlin. It should have been a TV movie. Because it isn't interested in science. It's interested in, I want to be a real live boy, that angle. And there's a Teddy Pendergrass song that plays during the end credits. If that hooks you. I've got nothing else to say other than I watched it a lot as a kid. It doesn't hold up as an adult. And at some point, he's a kid and he's flying a fighter jet, a stealth bomber at the end.
Yeah, I don't remember Secret Admirer. And was this? Look, see who was in this.
You're trying to figure out if you have the right secret admirer.
Yeah. Yes, Lori Loughlin from Full House.
Aha.
I knew I'd seen this.
Isn't C. Thomas Howell in this too?
Yep. Kelly Preston as well. So it's. I don't know. I don't
was
remember.
Big in '85.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I should have watched this one again, but I was too busy watching monster movies. Maybe when Fuller House comes back on, I'll go back and watch this.
You'll have a Lori Loughlin marathon.
Find all her Lifetime movies. I'm sure she has some of those. All right, let's move on to our trailers, and we'll start with The Martian.
What a fantastic trailer. I was really compelled by this. Matt Damon is a astronaut. They're on Mars. They've already been there, and then something happens, and he gets left behind, and they have to go back and try and save him, maybe, if they can. I really loved this trailer. I thought it was really fantastic. I liked Matt Damon, this character as he's established here, and I was really compelled by it. I can't wait to see this movie.
And then Fox even moved it up a month into October, where the Gravity slot is. And both Gone Girl and Gravity have performed well on this weekend, and I expect this to as well. I'm very happy that Ridley Scott's directing this because everybody else in it seems to be good, and I can't imagine him screwing it up. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm so down on him right now after Exodus and the Counselor not being very good that I want him to have a hit.
Might I say, though, that everybody in The Counselor is pretty good, generally.
Our discussion was that he just allowed Cormac McCarthy to kind of do what he needed to do, but
I kept waiting for Matthew McConaughey to come on and show up and make this... So I couldn't watch it for what it was.
It's funny that you say that. The person I watched the trailer with, she said, first I thought that was an Interstellar sequel. I'm like, no.
By the way, did you see what Jimmy Kimmel did to Matt Damon? He's had a great line. First, he made the whole trailer about. He made a small trailer making fun of it, but he had a great line where he said, "Oh, sure, when Ben Affleck goes to space, he blows up an asteroid and saves the world. Matt Damon goes there, they forget he's even there."
That's good.
That's funny. Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 2.
Oh,
wow, Josh, you're so excited about this.
Can she just die already? Seriously. Death to Katniss. So they're not going to stop making movies even if she's dead. I have no idea what the books are like, but I want this to end. It's going to, but like literally want it to end.
I wasn't going to watch the trailer because I don't care, but then it was before Jurassic World, so I got stuck watching it. I mean, it's not for me. That's all I can say. They're making it for an audience that doesn't care about the stuff I care about, so...
You're going to get us all a bunch of angry iTunes reviews now.
No, Josh
right.
is.
No, I'll go even further. I love Jennifer Lawrence, and I think that she is bringing something to this series where there is much of nothing for me to grab onto. But in this specific trailer, her making a demonstrative speech, it doesn't work. It's awkward. She doesn't have the bombastic leadership sense. It sounds strange, her giving directions or rousing speeches to a crowd.
That's because she plays such a smart ass in real life and in all her other movies. It's hard to take her seriously.
To be fair, that's been a character trait of the Katniss character throughout the entire series, is that she's not a leader or a public speaker, so it's supposed to be kind of awkward for her. So
okay.
Just to be fair.
But again, it's not for us, so don't give us bad reviews. And if you hate the Hunger Games too, give us a good review. Rock the Casbah.
Fantastic trailer. Bill Murray just being Bill Murray. I can't wait to see this.
For the first time in a long time. I mean, this is like an old school Bill Murray movie, like Scrooge and Groundhog Day and the Ghostbusters. This isn't the Lost in, which I love the Lost in Translation movies, but this is like old school Bill Murray.
Yeah, I had a fun time with this trailer with Zooey Deschanel being in it and
Kate Hudson.
Gosh, I almost got like an Almost Famous vibe out of it. I know it's not even close to that, but the fact that it's a rock movie and those individuals are in it, I'm excited for it, and I had no idea about it until this week.
I'm wondering how this could possibly fail, but Aloha did, and that looked good.
Yeah, it did.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
There's my review right there. That's my whole review. Henry Cavill still can't act. That's what I got from this trailer is that I was willing, after the first trailer, the teaser, to kind of relax and let him try, but they put a little bit more of him in this trailer, and yeah, he still can't act. He's still not very good.
I thought he was fine.
Yeah, the first trailer was better than this, though. It showed a specific style of the time of the 60s or whatnot that actually really worked. In this trailer, showing more of the film, I'm less inspired by it. And I still can't get past the fact that the Englishman is playing the American and the American is playing the Russian. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But they're basically just two hunky, pretty guys that people
It's a
want
Guy
to go
Ritchie movie,
see.
right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's what
I know
it is.
exactly what to expect with it, and I haven't liked any of his movies, so I'm probably not going to like this one.
Regression.
I've
Ethan
already
Hawke.
forgotten which one this
Ethan
is.
Hawke.
Emma Watson, Alejandro Amenabar.
No thanks.
I didn't have a problem with it. I just didn't feel like it's anything different other than it's him and then Ethan Hawke, and maybe it'll be better than some of the other movies that look just like this. Maybe it won't, but the trailer didn't do a whole lot for me, other than the names in it.
Yeah, it looks like something that's going straight to on demand. Either it is or not, I don't know, but it feels like that.
This is the guy that made The Others, right? Uh-huh. I really liked that movie
That
a
is
lot.
a good movie.
So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess. But
In terms of a trailer, trying to get us at least interested in the material, we don't exactly know what's going on. And I feel like at the end, when we find out what is going on, it might be worth it. But it does resemble a lot of other trailers for thrillers / supernatural / horror, whatever it is.
a better trailer would have been them just scrolling the names involved and then moving on. Because that would have made me more interested in the trailer itself. But what do we got next week? More Jurassic World?
Inside Out comes out next week, so I'll kind of get on the board. Maybe somebody will be Jurassic Worlded out.
I don't know. I'm going to go see it again.
I can't wait for Inside Out. The trailers for that have been fantastic, and of course it's Pixar.
My kids have been talking about it for months. My wife keeps going, can we go see Inside Out this week? I'm like, it doesn't come out yet. My daughter's been lately going, when's June 19th? When's June 19th?
That's good news. I hope a lot of people are saying that.
If you're listening to our show 1 or 2 weeks after the fact, feel free to still give us your list. We'll read them at the beginning of the show. We'll do a previously on I Hate Critics segment. So we want to hear your thoughts, what you thought of Jurassic World. If you see Inside Out before we record on Sunday, let us know what you think of that. Any movie you've seen this year, we want to hear what you have to say so we can get a discussion going, because that's the most fun part of the podcast. And we mentioned it last week. We are recording a podcast live at Lebowski Fest on August 21st or 22nd that weekend. So, we'd love to do a meetup with some of our listeners. If anybody's interested in going to Lebowski Fest up in Milwaukee, head to lebowskifest.com. It'll eventually be on our website. Don't ever go to Kickstarter again, because they shot down our buying Big Trouble Little China Kickstarter thing. So
I watched that this week too.
Oh, we'll have to talk about it next week. So we're gonna try Indiegogo, and if that doesn't work, GoFundMe, and if that doesn't work, maybe Patreon. I don't know. But anyway, that's our show this week. Visit us at ihatecritics.net. Rate and review us on iTunes, and see you next week.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody can have. I mean the three best friends that anybody can have. The